All right, so we'll say good evening. Let's continue. We are on Nun Hey on the days 55b. We got up to the first line. So we'll say still on the topic of dreams, although tonight we're going to go off dreams a little bit and into some other topics as well, but still some more interesting. Amar Rabbi Levi, the Olam Yitzapa Adam L'Chalam Tov Ad Chaf Beishan. It's a beautiful Gemara. If a person has a good dream, they should wait up to 22 years to see that it comes true. Where does the Gemara get this in 22 years? Minala, Yosef. From Yosef. It's interesting, by the way, and it makes sense. So many of these dream Gemaras focus on Yosef, which makes sense because Yosef's entire identity was all with the dreams. So what happened with Yosef? This is the Chsiv. Eila told us Yaakov, Yosef ben Shiva Esrei Shana. So the pasuk says, these are the generations. This is the offspring of Yaakov. Yosef was 17 years old. So Yosef was 17 when he had his dreams. And then what happens? Uksiv, the Yosef ben Shloshim Shana ba'amdu lefnei Paro. When does Yosef rise to greatness? When he was 30. Right? So had the dreams when he was 17, rose to greatness, became the viceroy when he was 30. So min shivsiri at tlosin kamehavim. So how much time is there between? How much time is there between 17 and 30? Tlos sri, right? Tlos sri. So there's 13 years. Right? 13 years between 17 and 30. Now watch this. B'shev d'siva. Now remember, so just understand the chronology, right? Yosef rises to prominence. How does he rise to prominence? Because he interpreted the dreams of Paro. Now, remember again, what were the dreams of Paro? 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. So 7 years of plenty, he's doing his thing. It was during the famine that the brothers come down to Egypt, and that's when Yosef's dream is realized when they bow down to him. So listen to this. So Yosef had the dreams when he was 17. He rises to power at the age of 30, so that's 13 years. Then add on there the 7 years of plenty, right? So that ultimately, again, brings to 20 years. And then, when did the brothers come down to Egypt? The second year into the famine. Right, so 13 years from 17 to 30 rises to greatness. 7 additional years of plenty where the brothers did not come down. That's 20. And then 2 years into the famine, the brothers come down and bow down to him. So from here, the Gemara says, sometimes you have to wait up to 22 years in order to see your dreams come true. I will say, what a profound Gemara, right? So often in life we think that as long as the dream is a good dream, then of course it should automatically come true as quickly, as expeditiously as possible. And it's important to understand, it takes time for dreams to come true. It takes time. So the Gemara says 22 years. 22 years is a really long time, but sometimes you have to have a lot of staying power to see your dreams come to fruition. Not a Gemara. Ram Rafuna. La'adam tov in maran lo chalam tov, la'adam ra in maran lo chalam ra. So this is interesting. So Rafuna says like this: a good person does not get good dreams, and a bad person does not get bad dreams. Now, it's interesting. It's interesting that Rashi changes the wording over here. Rashi changes it to li adam tov maran lo chalam ra. Good people are given bad dreams. Now, why would good people be given bad dreams? So Rashi points out kidei sheyidag v'lo yachta v'shichap lo etzono. So Rashi says two things. Number one, because a bad dream can be very troubling. Sometimes this is a little bit difficult for us to swallow. Sometimes a little bit of difficulty or a little bit of life agitation is actually good because it keeps you on the straight and narrow. Right? It ultimately, when you're worried, when you have a dream and it's distressing and it's disturbing, it's possible that a person is a little bit more conscious about how they're living life. Conversely, right, a bad person doesn't get good dreams. So what's the idea behind that? Because a bad person already is enjoying the world enough and doing whatever he's not supposed to be doing. And so again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't give him the satisfaction of the good dream. So it's interesting, right? So the good person has bad dreams because the bad dreams kind of keep him honest. The bad person doesn't have good dreams because HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want him to go ahead and I'm sorry, the opposite. Ultimately, the bad person has good dreams because, therefore, whatever reward he is entitled to, he collects in this world through his good dreams. Okay? The Gemara says, Tanya Namiachi, a Brisa that supports this, Kol Shnosov Shal David Lo Ra'a Chalam Tov. So we'll say a Brisa to support this. All the years of David HaMelech's life, he never saw a good dream. Can you imagine that? David HaMelech had a very tumultuous life. All of his years, he never had a good dream. The Choshnos of Achitophel lo ra'a chalam ra, and Achitophel was a Rasha. Achitophel, all of his years, he never had a bad dream. I v'hak siv lo seuna elecha ra'a. V'amrav Chista amrav Yirmiyah bar Abba shelo yafhilucha lo chalam osram v'lo hirhurim ra'im. So the pasuk I will say, so just by the way, I'll just point out before we even go on, isn't it incredible that David HaMelech never had a good dream in his life, which by the way also brings home, what David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Shira Malos b'shuv Hashem Shiva Sion Hayino Kicholmim. Like a song of ascents, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu returns us to Tzion, to Yerushalayim, to the Beis HaMikdash, third Beis HaMikdash Mashiach, will be like dreamers. It takes on even a more precious meaning and understanding when you contemplate the fact that maybe David HaMelech didn't have good dreams in this world. See, here he's saying, but one day there'll be a good dream. One day there'll be the best dream, the dream of Mashiach. In any event, so Rav Chisda says in the Rav, so what does the pasuk mean when it says, Lo su'una elecha ra'ah? What does that phrase mean? That you shouldn't allow bad dreams to overwhelm you. That if you have a bad dream, shake it off. Shake it off. Now, I will say, I mentioned this yesterday, there is this undercurrent of machlokes about the nature of dreams, right? Are dreams meaningful? Are dreams meaningless? Is there some combination of the two? So you're going to clearly see like this tension back and forth. So don't let bad dreams rattle you. V'lo hirhurim ra'im. And negative thoughts, inappropriate thoughts, do not allow them to take hold. V'nega lo yikraf ba'ahalecha. There should never be literally an affliction in your tent. Shelo timsa ishtecha safek nida b'sha'a sha'ata bamin haderech. It's actually very interesting. When a man comes home from a long journey, so he desires to be with his wife. So if he comes home and his wife is a safek nida, what's a safek nida? In other words, she's not sure. Is she a nida? Is she not a nida? So the Gemara says, that almost gives a bracha that a man shouldn't find his wife in a state of safek nida. It's interesting, right? Why doesn't it say that after a man comes home from a long journey, he shouldn't find his wife a nida? So it's interesting how we acclimate to realities. If a man comes home and he finds his wife is a nida, okay, she's a nida. What else is what's there to do? When there's a suffix, it's almost as if that creates this inner turmoil, right? Mutter, not mutter, what? So sometimes it's interesting that sometimes it is easier to deal. Well, not sometimes. We always know it's always easier to deal with absolutes than it is to deal with uncertainty. Uncertainty, like the beautiful Gemara that says, "Ein simcha ka'ataras hasfekos." The greatest joy in life is the resolution of doubt. Right? Conversely, right, the greatest angst in life and anxiety in life is doubt. In other words, I'd rather know what it is. Even if it's not something that I want, I'd rather know what it is than to live with the doubt. Incredible. So Gemara goes right to rather, we're talking about a situation where I didn't have the bad dream about myself, rather someone else had the bad dream about me. I don't understand. If I don't have it, someone said it makes it sound like that not having a dream is actually a good thing. Rabbi Shmuel says incredible. Listen to this Gemara. Can you imagine this? If you go 7 nights without a dream, you're called evil. What's the pshat? So remember again, the Gemara says, Shene Emar v'sava yolin bal yifkad ra. Al tikli sava ela sheva. So this is actually a very interesting idea. The Gemara going with the approach that we're looking at dreams as a form of communication from the Ribono Shalom. So a person goes for an extended amount of time and there's no communication. It's interesting, right? The person goes for an extended amount of time and there's no dreams. The Gemara looks at that as a bad thing. Very interesting. So the Gemara goes on. Good. I'll take you sir. This means to say the chazav lo yada my chazav. We're talking about a person who dreams but doesn't understand what it is that he's seeing in his dream. Amar Rav Huna bar Ami, Amar Rav Adas, Amar Yochanan. Haroach chalom v'nafsho aguma. So listen to this. If a person sees a dream and he's distressed, nafsho aguma literally means he's saddened or he's distressed by this dream. Yelech v'yifterenu bifnei shlosha. Go and interpret it in front of 3 people. The Gemara says, Yifterenu, interpret it. V'amar Rav Chisda said, Chama delo mifshar, ki garta delo makarya. An uninterpreted dream is like an unread letter. So now what does this mean? Just like in an unread letter, right? If you don't read it, then what? You can't be impacted by the contents. So too again, if you have a dream that remains uninterpreted, you can't be impacted by the dream. It's an interesting idea. So which I say, it's interesting that it's almost like what the Gemara is saying is there are some things in life that are better off left alone. Right? In other words, maybe if the letter has a message that maybe I don't want to know, maybe leave it unopened. The dream may portend for some type of negative future. Don't interpret it. So the Gemara says, Ela ima yativenu bifnei shlosha. Rather, what it means is like this. This is incredible. If you have a bad dream, what should you do? Gather 3 people and put a positive spin to the dream in the presence of those 3 people. What does this mean? Leisei tzlasa. This is incredible. Bring 3 people, right? Gather 3 people together. V'leima lahu, and say to them the following: Chalma tava chazoi. I saw a good dream. I saw a good dream, right? So again, just to play this out, right? I'm the guy who had the dream. I'm distressed by the dream. So what should you do? Get 3 people together and say, Chevra, I had a good dream. Right? Make that say, I had a good dream. V'leim rulei, and they say back to him, Hanach tavahu v'tava lehave. Right? The dream was good, and it should continue to be good. Rachmana l'shavi l'tav, and Chash Baruch Hu should make everything good for you. Sheva zimnin ligzuru alacha min shamayim telehavatava v'yahavatava. So again, so the idea of it is fascinating. So what do you do if you have a bad dream? Essentially, you tell it over in front of a group of 3. You say, Chevra, I had a good dream, and they tell you, oh, you had a good dream, you should continue to be good. And they repeat this 7 times. And I will say now, what's the logic over here? What's so profound is that I don't understand if the dream was good or it wasn't good, one way or another. What does it matter? What I'm saying, what everyone else is saying. So I will say there's a powerful tool over here, right? That sometimes the way our lives unfold are tethered to the way we view our circumstances and to the way we view ourselves, right? A person, you see this all the time, right? There are people who walk through life and they're miserable, always feeling like, what's the expression? The shoe is going to drop. Is that the expression? The shoe is going to drop. Next shoe is going to drop. I'm sorry? Waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? The sky's coming down. And it's interesting because what happens? That's what happens. It drops. It drops. Interestingly enough, that's exactly what happens. It almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So much of what occurs in our lives is dictated by the mindset and the outlook that we have. So how incredible is it that Chazal said, you had a bad dream? Okay, you know what you need to do? Turn it around. Turn it around. It's a good dream. And get friends around you. It's a good dream. Shkoyach, it's going to be great. And say that enough times, and that becomes your outlook, that becomes your disposition. V'leimru, shalosh hafuchos, v'shalosh peduyos. And say 3 expressions of turning things around, and 3 expressions of redemption. V'shalosh shlomos, and 3 expressions of shalom. Shalom hafuchos, so these are just the psukim that are said. Hafachtem espedi lamachali, pitachta sakiva tazreni simcha, az tismach besul b'mchol b'achurim nizkenim yachda, v'afachti evel misason, v'lo ava Hashem elkecha l'shma l'bilam v'yafoch. So these are 3 expressions, 3 psukim of turning things around, of where things looked bad, Chash Baruch Hu turned it around. Shalosh peduyos, say 3 expressions of redemption. Tichsev padei b'shalom nafshi mikarevli, v'pedui Hashem yeshuvon, v'yomra amal shal hayonos anyos asher asa Yeshua, shalosh shlomos, say 3 expressions of shalom, of peace. Tichsev Borinif svasayim shalom shalom l'racho kol akarov. Amar Hashem v'raposiv v'rach lov shes ansai v'amartem ko l'chi v'ato shalom u'beischa shalom. So what I say, the idea over here is these 7, it's going to be good. These 3 expressions of shalom, 3 expressions of afuchos, 3 expressions of redemption, and then what do? Go on your way. Go on your way armed with a positive mindset, a positive outlook, and believing that everything in your life is going to be good. I will say we'll stop over here for today. Shkoyach.